In a world where everything revolves around money, or at least that's the case for Emily, one of the city's most attractive, wealthy girls' trust was a fleeting concept. Her life was quantified by the numbers in her bank account, her extravagant possessions and lavish indulgences. The sunlight of the city cascaded over her expansive mansion, a haven of wealth amidst a landscape of technology and excess. Emily, a 25-year-old whose appearance was meticulously crafted down to the last detail, stood by the large window in her bedroom. Her cold blue eyes, a stark contrast to her frigid heart, surveyed the meticulously manicured grounds that lay before her. She wore a custom-tailored dress valued far beyond the annual salaries of most employees, and on her wrist sparkled a limited edition gemstone bracelet, a symbol of time which she equated with money. With an aged glass of wine in hand, because for Emily, even wine had to signify status, she observed her maid, Emma, diligently cleaning under the relentless sun, meticulously pruning every rosebush and scrubbing every nook and cranny with a dedication that Emily found both peculiar and contemptible. Emma embodied everything Emily lacked: humility, hard work, and genuine happiness in her simple life. Most notably, she was incredibly beautiful, regardless of how plainly she dressed, a fact that fueled Emily's quiet envy and disdain. At 30, the maid carried the burden of honest labor, with every drop of sweat on her lovely face reflecting the struggles of her existence. Her skilled hands wielded the tools with a grace that could only stem from years of practice and a true passion for her work. As Emily watched Emma toil, a dark thought began to take shape in her mind. A sly smile crept across her face, revealing the malice concealed beneath her facade of respectability. "Why not bring this country pumpkin to my birthday party?" she mused, relishing the thought. It would be entertaining to make her the laughingstock of the evening. Emily's birthday party was the most significant event of the year at her family's estate, where the most powerful and affluent children of the elite congregated to celebrate her birthday and indulge their inflated egos. It was a display of designer outfits, couture dresses, and jewelry that could sustain a small nation for years. Emily was always the center of attention at these gatherings, boasting among her friends about plans for the next extravagant adventure, or showcasing her latest acquisitions, whether it was a rising star or a yacht larger than her rivals. But this year, she believed, would be different. She had an ace up her sleeve, cruel prank that would elevate her above all others in the sophisticated hierarchy of malice they all revered. Leaving her wine glass on the mahogany vanity, Emily stepped out of her bedroom and made her way toward the garden. The heat slapped her face, reminding her why she preferred the cool comfort of air conditioning. Approaching Emma, who wiped the sweat from her brow with a delicate handkerchief upon seeing her, Emily greeted her. "Good afternoon, Miss Emily," Emma said with a genuine smile that made Emily uneasy. How could anyone smile like that when their life seemed so insignificant? "Emma, my dear friend," Emily began, blending her voice with a practiced warmth she had honed over the years. "I've been observing your work, and I must say, I'm quite impressed." Emma's eyes sparkled with pride at the compliment, and Emily had to suppress the urge to cringe. It was so easy to manipulate the simple-minded, she thought. "Thank you, Miss Emily. I always strive to keep everything to your liking," Emma replied, pride evident in her tone. Emily nodded, feigning approval. "And that's why, Emma, I want to give you something special, a reward for your hard work and dedication." Emma blinked in surprise. In all her years working for the Emily family, she had never received anything beyond her weekly paycheck. And perhaps a small Christmas bonus. A reward, Mr. G asked, curiosity evident. Yes, Emily continued, savoring each word as if sipping fine wine. As you know, every year I host a birthday party. It's the biggest event of the year, where the wealthiest children from the nation's elite gather. Emma nodded, though it was clear she knew little about this event. To her, parties and elite socialites were as distant as the moon. So, this year, I want you to come with me, Emily declared, watching as shock and disbelief spread across the maid's face. Me, to a party? Emma stammered, clearly overwhelmed by the invitation. But miss, I don't know anyone there. I wouldn't know how to act or what to say at such a place. Emily stifled a laugh. The maid's insecurity was exactly what she desired. Don't worry, Emma. You'll be my guest of honor. Think of it as a chance to see how the other half lives. Besides, I'm sure everyone will be thrilled to meet the one who takes care of me and my home. Emma glanced at her dirty, work-worn hands, then at her clothes stained with the dust and grime of the garden. You're too kind, Miss Emily, but I have nothing suitable to wear to such an event. Don't fret about that, Emily replied, waving her hand dismissively. I'll ensure you have something appropriate for the occasion. So, what do you say? Will you accept my invitation? There was a moment of hesitation, a flicker of doubt that seemed to indicate to Emma that something was amiss about this sudden kindness. However, the emotion and the opportunity to experience something so far removed from her daily life quickly outweighed any suspicion. It would be an honor, Miss Emily, Emma finally responded, a radiant smile spreading across her wrinkled face. Thank you for considering me. The pleasure is mine, Emma, Emily replied, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder to seal the deal. The party is this Saturday, and I'll make sure you have everything you need. As she walked away, leaving Emma caught between excitement and anxiety. Emily finally let the malicious laughter she had been suppressing erupt across her face. The game had commenced, and she could already taste victory. Back in the cool comfort of her mansion, Emily headed straight for her private bar, needing another drink to toast the beginning of her perfect scheme. While pouring herself another glass of wine, her mind raced, envisioning every detail of the humiliation she was about to orchestrate. She picked up her phone and dialed a number. After a few seconds, a voice answered on the other end. Chloe, Emily said, skipping the pleasantries, I need you to do something for me. Find a dress for my maid. It has to stand out, and the less appropriate, the better. Make sure it's way too big. There was a moment of silence on the other end, as if Chloe, her personal assistant, was trying to grasp the peculiar request. Of course, Miss Emily, Chloe finally replied. Do you have any preferences for color or style? Emily smiled to herself. Surprise me, Chloe. Just ensure it's something that will have everyone staring for all the wrong reasons. She hung up without waiting for a response. Chloe would understand. She always did, which was why she was invaluable to Emily, capable of executing even the most bizarre tasks without asking inconvenient questions. With the plan now set in motion, Emily allowed herself to imagine how the gala would unfold. She envisioned Emma walking in, awkward and out of place, wearing a ludicrous outfit that would make her stand out like a sore thumb. She could picture the puzzled stares, the stifled laughter, the whispered comments behind champagne glasses, and at the center of it all would be her Emily, the architect of this cruel comedy. She would be the talk of the town for weeks, perhaps even months. Do you remember when Emily brought her maid to the party? They would say and everyone would laugh, admiring her boldness and cunning cruelty. But there was more at stake than just a mean-spirited prank. For Emily, this was a statement, a reminder to everyone at the party of who she truly was, not just a wealthy heiress, but someone capable of manipulating, controlling, and crafting a spectacle at will. As she sipped her wine, Emily reflected on the path that had brought her here. Born into wealth, her parents had ascended to the pinnacle of the business world through shrewdness, determination, and a complete absence of ethics. Every step they took toward the top was marked by decisions that others might deem ruthless or immoral, instilling in Emily the belief that cruelty was essential for success. She recalled the stories her father had shared his first significant break at just 26, when he hacked and stole the idea of a promising startup, presenting it as his own and securing the backing of key investors. The original founder, a bright but naive young man, was never able to prove the theft and ended up working in an electronics store, his dreams shattered. Then there was the hostile takeover of a family business that had thrived for 3 generations. Without a shred of remorse, Emily's father dismantled the company and sold off its assets, leaving dozens of loyal employees jobless. The father of that family, who had built the business from nothing, suffered a heart attack upon hearing the news and died shortly afterward. With each victory, each $1 million amassed, each headline in the business magazines, Emily's father built his greed, convincing her that the more ruthless one was, the more successful one would be. Now, living in the pinnacle of success her father had constructed, with more money than she could spend in several lifetimes, what was left for her? The thrill of it all had long since faded. The designer goods, the trips, they had all become dull, almost tasteless. Most of all, she loathed Emma's beautiful face. That's why she needed this small act of cruelty. This elaborate joke at the expense of a simple, kind girl like Emma was a reminder to herself and others that she could still create a stir, generate chaos, simply for the fun of it. As these thoughts swirled in her mind, Emily moved back to the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. In the garden, Emma continued to work, completely oblivious to the fate Emily had planned for her. For a fleeting moment, a flicker of hesitation crossed Emily's mind. Was all of this truly necessary? What would she genuinely gain from humiliating someone who had always been kind and diligent? But the feeling vanished as quickly as it had come. I hate people more beautiful than me, Emily thought, her expression turning dangerous. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity at Emily's mansion. True to her reputation for efficiency, Chloe had found the perfect outfit for Emma: garish green dress, 2 sizes too big, with an absurdly puffed-out skirt. It was an ensemble straight out of a dreadful stage performance, completely out of place at a glamorous gathering of elite socialites. When Chloe presented the dress to Emily, she couldn't help but laugh with satisfaction. "Great job," she said, inspecting the outfit with cruel delight. "This is exactly what I had in mind." The night of the party arrived, the night of light and glamour that seemed to illuminate the entire city. The hotel hosting the event was a magnificent structure perched on cliffs overlooking the ocean, transformed into a sanctuary of luxury and exclusivity. The entrance was adorned with massive floral arrangements and a red carpet that stretched on endlessly, guarded by security staff in black suits and earpieces, standing still as statues. Luxury cars and limited edition sports cars glided past the Grand Hotel, each one more impressive than the last. It was an endless parade of famous faces, friends of Emily's parents, and then the children of those high-powered executives, arriving one after another. Inside her Rolls-Royce, Emily adjusted the bow on her dress, a smile waiting on her lips. Next to her, Emma sat, clearly uncomfortable and out of place, squeezed into the garish green dress that Chloe had found. "Remember, Emma," Emily said with false sweetness, "tonight you're my special guest. Don't worry if you don't understand everything that's said. Just smile and nod." Emma, her sweaty hands clenched on her knees, nodded nervously. "Thank you again for this opportunity, Miss Emily. I promise I won't let you down." Emily had to suppress a giggle. Emma didn't realize that the only way not to disappoint her was to become the joke of the night. The Rolls-Royce pulled up to the entrance, and a valet quickly opened the door. Emily stepped out first, greeting the photographers with a practiced smile as they immediately began snapping photos. Then, with a dramatic flourish, she extended her hand to help Emma out of the car. The moment Emma stepped out was precisely as Emily had envisioned. For a split second, the flashes paused, as if the photographers couldn't believe their eyes. Then, with renewed enthusiasm, the cameras began clicking furiously. Emma, blinded by the flashes and clearly overwhelmed by the attention, stumbled slightly as she exited the car. Emily held her hand, a gesture that might have seemed friendly to those watching. But in reality, it was meant to further expose Emma to the cameras. "Miss Emily, who's your companion?" one of the reporters shouted. Emily smiled, savoring the moment. "This is Emma, my maid. I thought it would be fun to bring someone who truly knows how to make things grow. Don't you all agree?" Giggles and stifled laughter echoed around them. Emma, not grasping the true meaning behind Emily's words, smiled awkwardly at the cameras as they walked the red carpet. Emily could feel the curious stares and amused glances trailing them. The celebrities, socialites, and famous faces of the elite world watched them with a mix of confusion and obvious entertainment. Once inside the hotel's grand lobby, the contrast between Emma's world and the luxury of the event became even more pronounced. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a golden glow over the guests who chatted casually, glasses of champagne in hand. The wealthy heiresses were adorned in designer gowns worth more than Emma's entire house, while the young heirs seemed to compete over who wore the most expensive watch or drove the most exclusive car. Emma stopped, clearly overwhelmed by the spectacle before her. "Miss Emily," she whispered, "I'm not sure I belong here." Emily suppressed a victorious smile. "Nonsense, Emma. You're my guest. Let me introduce you to some friends." With one hand on Emma's back, Emily guided her toward the table where her parents were seated with a group of high-powered executives near the bar. She recognized James, the CEO of one of the most promising startups, and Thane, a renowned venture capitalist known for his sharp tongue. "Emily," James called out, raising his glass in greeting. "We thought you were going to miss the party and all this fun." "Never," Emily replied, before turning to Emma. "Allow me to introduce my companion for the evening. This is Emma, my maid." The silence that followed was almost tangible. Even the background music seemed to fade, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. James looked Emma up and down, his expression unreadable. "Your maid," he repeated, his tone a mix of disbelief and amusement. "Yes," Emily confirmed, relishing every second. "I thought it would be refreshing to bring someone truly interesting, if you know what I mean." The polite laughter that followed was forced and uncomfortable. Emma, sensing she was the center of a joke she didn't fully understand, smiled nervously. Tell me, Emma, James said, clearly deciding to play along with Emily's joke. What do you think of colonizing Mars? Emma blinked in confusion. I don't know much about that, sir, but I suppose if they're going to colonize Mars, they'll need good maids, right? Her answer elicited another round of laughter, this time more genuine, but no less cruel. Emily could feel the curious stares and amusement directed at them from every corner of the room. Her plan was unfolding perfectly. As the evening progressed, Emily ensured to introduce Emma to as many people as possible, each interaction more awkward than the last. She paraded Emma from group to group, exposing her lack of knowledge about technology, finance, and the culture of the guests. At one point, they encountered Esteban, who regarded Emma with a mix of curiosity and amusement. So, Emma, Esteban said, his smile not reaching his eyes, what do you think the future of AI in domestic service will be? Emma, sweating under the lights and unwanted attention, stammered, well, sir, I think if they can cook rice and serve it without spilling any, that'd be something. This response drew more laughter from the group surrounding them. Esteban, though clearly entertained by the situation, seemed to contemplate her answer for a moment before nodding. You know, that's not a bad idea. Perhaps we should explore automating cooking and serving on Mars. Emily, while finding the situation humorous, felt a slight pang of irritation. She didn't want Emma to receive any recognition, even if it was sarcastic. As the night wore on, the alcohol flowed freely, and inhibitions began to wane. The comments about Emma grew bolder, the laughter no longer hidden. Emily watched with delight as her plan unfolded, while Emma slowly wilted under the weight of the stares and remarks. At one point, Emma excused herself to go to the restroom. Emily watched her go, noting how her shoulders slumped and her steps faltered. For a brief moment, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Had she gone too far? But before she could dwell on it, she was approached by a group of friends eager to chat, and Emily quickly lost herself in the conversation, temporarily forgetting about Emma's fate. Meanwhile, in the luxurious restroom of the hotel, Emma stared at herself in the mirror. The reflection staring back was that of a defeated woman. The bright lights highlighted every tear, every stain on her ill-fitting dress. For the first time that evening, she was alone, free from Emily's overpowering presence or the mocking gazes of the other guests. Emma splashed water on her face, trying to regain her composure. What was she doing here? It was clear she didn't belong in this world of wealth and power. Every conversation, every glance, every stifled laugh reminded her that she was an intruder, walking joke. As she dried her face with a towel softer than anything she had ever touched in her life, Emma contemplated her options. She could simply leave, catch a taxi, and return to the safety of her small home. But something inside her resisted that idea. She had promised Emily she would attend the party, and Emma was a woman of her word, no matter the circumstances. With a deep sigh, she stood tall, adjusted the bow tie of her dress as best as she could, and prepared to return to the party. She might not belong there, but at the very least, she could face the rest of the evening with dignity. While Emma battled her insecurities in the restroom, Emily thrived among the powerful and famous friends she adored. She commanded conversations with the skill of a refined heiress. Each word, each gesture, each smile calculated for maximum effect. Emily, a voice called from behind her. I must say, your choice of companion tonight is quite interesting. Emily turned to face her father's biggest rival in the tech world. Paul, Paul was everything Emily's parents despised: intelligent, charming, and worst of all, genuinely loved by his employees and colleagues. "Uncle Paul," Emily replied, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Always a pleasure to see you." "What can I say? I enjoy surprising people," Paul remarked, looking at her with an unreadable expression. "Is that what you're doing? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're humiliating a girl who clearly doesn't understand why she's here." Emily's smile faltered for a moment. "Don't be dramatic, Uncle Paul. I'm simply showing Emma a world she would never see without me." "Isn't that generous?" "Generous," Paul repeated, his voice dripping with skepticism. "Is that what you call it? Because to me, this looks like an exercise in unnecessary cruelty." Before Emily could respond, a murmur spread across the room. All heads turned toward the main entrance to the ballroom, where an impressive figure had just appeared. He was a tall man, around 75 years old, with silver-streaked hair slicked back, exuding authority. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, not ostentatious, but radiating wealth in every stitch. But the most striking feature was his face. His sharp eyes seemed to see through every lie, and his smile blended kindness and shrewdness in perfect harmony. Emily felt her mouth go dry. She knew who the man was. Everyone in the country knew him. It was Alfred, the legendary investor and philanthropist who had made and broken more fortunes than anyone in the history of tech. He was the one man even the industry's titans bowed to, and he was heading straight toward them. "Paul, my boy," Alfred said in a voice that was friendly yet undeniably commanding. "It's good to see you again. How's that clean energy project you told me about coming along?" Paul, clearly delighted to have Alfred's attention, eagerly launched into an enthusiastic explanation of the latest advancements in solar technology. Feeling temporarily sidelined, Emily prepared to interject when she noticed Alfred's gaze had shifted to her. "And you must be Emily," Alfred said, extending his hand. "I've heard a lot about you." Emily shook his hand, trying to mask her nerves behind a confident facade. "Mr. Alfred, it's an honor. I hope everything you've heard is positive." Alfred smiled, but something in his eyes made Emily feel as if she were being scrutinized under a microscope. "Oh, I've heard all sorts of things. You're certainly a remarkable figure, Emily. There's no denying that. Although I must say, your choice of companion tonight is quite notable." At that moment, as if summoned by Alfred's words, Emma stepped out from the crowd. Her face still bore traces of having been freshly washed, and there was a new resolve in her expression, as if she had made a difficult decision. The moment Emily had been waiting for all night had finally arrived. With Emma back in the ballroom and Alfred watching with interest, the stage was set for the grand finale of the cruel joke she had orchestrated. "Mr. Alfred," Emily said with a smile that barely concealed her malice, "allow me to introduce my special guest for the evening. This is Emma, my maid." The silence that followed was almost absolute. Even the background music seemed to fade, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Alfred looked Emma up and down, his expression unreadable. Emma, for her part, stood as tall as she could in her ill-fitting dress, facing the gaze of the legendary investor who was a friend of Emily's parents, and the amused stares of Emily's young elite friends with a mix of anxiety and determination. Then, unexpectedly, Alfred smiled. It wasn't the thin, sarcastic smile Emily had anticipated, but a warm, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Emma," Alfred said, extending his hand, It is an honor to finally meet you. Confusion spread across Emily's face like an ink stain. Finally, what did he mean by that? Emma, equally surprised, shook his hand. "The honor is mine, Mr. Alfred," she replied, her voice stronger than it had been earlier in the night. And then, as if signaled by Alfred's words, something extraordinary began to happen. Like a wave spreading across the ocean, the guests began to stand one by one. Then, in group scent, the entire room was on its feet. Applause erupted, starting softly but quickly building into a deafening roar. "That's her," someone in the crowd shouted. "The unknown angel. I can't believe it, she's a legend." Whispers spread rapidly. "The unknown angel is... she'll really hear, I can't believe it. She's a legend." Emily turned to Emma, her face a mix of confusion and rising horror. "What are they talking about? What is this?" But Emma was no longer looking at Emily. Her eyes were focused on Alfred, who nodded slightly as if granting permission. Emma took a deep breath, and for the first time that night, she stood completely tall. Suddenly, the ill-fitting, garish outfit seemed irrelevant. There was a dignity in her posture, a strength in her gaze that Emily had never seen before. "I think it's time for the truth to be revealed," Emma said, her voice clear and resolute. "Yes, I am the unknown angel." The revelation hit the room like a clap of thunder. Emily felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The unknown angel, the mysterious philanthropist who had donated millions to charities in secret for years, whose identity had been the subject of speculation across every social circle in the country. "But you're a maid," Emily stammered, unable to reconcile the humble image of Emma with the legend of the unknown angel. Emma smiled, a smile full of years of secrets and satisfaction. "Yes, I am a maid, and I'm proud of it," she replied. Then Alfred stepped forward onto the stage, taking hold of the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, a few years ago, Emma was one of the top young entrepreneurs in our country, named among the top 5. However, for reasons unknown, she decided to step away from that life and live simply, doing what she loves." Alfred moved toward Emma, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I've had the privilege of working with Emma on many charitable projects over the years. Her generosity and humility are truly inspiring." Emily felt her world spinning. Her plan, her cruel joke had crumbled in an instant. Worse still, she had become the laughingstock, the villain of the story. The guests began flocking to Emma, eager to meet the legendary unknown angel. Executives, stars, and philanthropists who had looked at Emma with disdain just hours earlier were now competing for her attention. Ms. Marion, a famous actress, said, "Your donation saved the arts center in my hometown. I cannot thank you enough." Emma, a renowned tech entrepreneur, added, "The funds you provided for clean energy research are game-changing. It's an honor to finally meet you." As the compliments and gratitude continued, Emily found herself retreating, shrinking away from the spotlight, her mind racing to process what was happening. How could she have been so wrong? How could she not have known? Emma, for her part, accepted the thanks with grace and humility. "The real honor is in helping," she said repeatedly. "Each of us has the power to make a difference, no matter our place in life." At one point, Emma turned to Emily, who had withdrawn into a corner of the room. With steady steps, she approached her once proud employer, now small in the face of the revelation. "Emily," Emma said, her voice gentle but firm, "I suppose you're wondering why I accepted to come tonight, knowing your intentions." Emily, unable to meet Emma's gaze, looked down at the floor. I don't understand. Why work as a maid if you have so much money? Why put up with all of this? She gestured vaguely at the party and more broadly at how she had treated her. Emma smiled, a smile filled with empathy and sadness. Because honest work, Emily, no matter what it is, has dignity. Because caring for you and your home, seeing things improve every day, keeps me grounded in what truly matters. And because sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unexpected places. Emily felt something crack inside her. Her whole life, her entire upbringing, had taught her that money and power were all that mattered. And now here was Emma, a woman with more wealth than Emily could ever dream of, choosing to live a simple life and quietly do good. "I'm sorry," Emily mumbled, the words difficult to articulate. "I didn't mean to. Emma placed a hand on Emily's shoulder, a gesture of understanding that Emily felt she didn't deserve. "I know, Emily. And while I can't condone your actions tonight, I think there's a lesson here for all of us." She turned to the crowd around them, her voice rising so that everyone could hear. "Tonight reminds us that we should not judge people by appearances or their profession. True wealth is not measured in dollars, but in the positive impact we can make in the lives of others." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. Emily could see the eyes that had once admired her now turning cold or filled with pity. She had fallen from her pedestal, and the fall was steep. Alfred stepped closer, his presence always commanding. "Emily, you made a grave mistake tonight, but as Emma pointed out, there is always room for growth and redemption." Emily nodded, feeling smaller than she ever had before. "We cannot change the past, Emily, but we can plant the seeds for a better future," Alfred continued. "And you don't have to do it alone. There is a community here willing to help guide and work with your family on projects that truly matter." Emily looked at him, feeling a mixture of humility and hope that she had never experienced before. I want that. I want to learn, to help, to do things differently." Emma smiled brightly. "So what do you say if we start tomorrow morning in your house? As I suggested, there's something truly therapeutic about cleaning and seeing your efforts." "I would love that, Emma. I think I have a lot to learn from you, from everyone," she added. As they spoke, Emma made her way to the balcony. Her presence, once overlooked and mocked, now radiated quiet authority. "Ladies and gentlemen," Emma said with a gentle smile, "I hope I'm not intruding." "Not at all," Paul replied, making room for her to join them. Emily, still grappling with her shame, could hardly meet Emma's eyes. "Emma, I don't know what to say." Emma placed her hand on Emily's shoulder again, the same gesture of understanding. "Sometimes, Emily, there's no need to say anything. What matters is what we do from here on out." The group stood in silence, for a moment, gazing out at the starry sky as the gala concluded. The guests left with a new perspective. The story of the unknown angel, the millionaire maid, who had spent her career quietly helping others, would spread like wildfire in the days to come, inspiring others to reconsider their priorities and the true meaning of success. Emily, who had planned her birthday party with the intention of humiliating her beautiful maid, left with a lesson in humility and a newfound purpose in life. That night, Emily sat down with her parents, and they talked for hours. Her parents, filled with regret for having raised her with such negative values, expressed their remorse. Together, they vowed to change, to strive to help the community, rather than merely satisfy their own selfish ambitions. The next morning, as promised, Emily showed up ready to work alongside Emma. As they cleaned the house, Emily understood that they weren't just caring for a home. They were refreshing their lives and embracing transformation. Along with it came the promise of change for their entire community. The story of the wealthy heiress and her maid would become a legend in the country, a reminder that true wealth is not measured in dollars, but in the positive impact we can have on the lives of others. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.